Yeah.
Okay, we on? Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'll start talking and we'll have her come back and she might want to say something. This is very interesting here. I guess she'll come back in a minute, but we'll go on as we speak. Yeah, tell them they're going to have to be quiet back there. Tell them that they're going to have to be quiet back there. Yeah. You know. I'm glad to be here, and it's always good to make it back to Naptown. We got a lot of good information that we're going to yeah. We got a lot of good information that we want to cover. And so what we're going to do tonight is, because I know there was some Moors instrumental in bringing me here this time with Sister Bernetta. And so what I want to do, I want to go into some latest information on the government war against the Moors. And not only that, I was trying to wonder what was this thing about. And I'm going to go into the history of this thing. I'm going to the history of this, as well as yeah, I'm good with these. Yeah. I want to go into the history of this, as well as I want to go and tell you the reason behind it. And so I'm going to go into the uncover a bit of information, and then I got a lot of important things I want to give you as far as bring to you, and that is there's a lot of good things that we got now that can help us. We want to deal with that. I want to introduce some technology tonight that was done, that was worked on by Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was, of course, responsible for the bringing us the radio. He was responsible for bringing us, we now even find out that he was responsible for bringing us the TV. And he was from Czechoslovakia. And any of those places you got there, any of those places you have there, yeah, right there, good, right, okay, yeah, okay. Any of those places you have, we find out for the last 700-800 years, there's been an ongoing fight to wipe out certain European bloodlines that was left there by the Moors, all over Europe. So when you hear of Stalin killing millions of Russians, that's really about them wiping out ethnic cleansing, the whole black Russian aspect. You see what I'm saying? And you might have heard Renoka Rashidi talk about Alexander Pushkin, who was a guy that was one of their greatest historians of Russia. And he was everything, all things Russian. And so when you hear of Stalin wiping out millions of these Russians, and you got the Russians killing the Russians, it don't make sense. Obviously they had to have some type of objective as far as some type of ethnic cleansing. You know what I'm saying? And we need to explain that whole Islamic line in Russia. You see what I'm saying? So Nikola Tesla is from Czechoslovakia, and he is responsible for giving us some great inventions. And he invented one thing, and we'll go into this. In a few minutes. Some technology where he used to go into the what they call the Akashic Records. And the Akashic Records is everything that ever was is on libraries in the ethers, and you can tap into the Akashic Records by going up there with your own mind. And so he used to go into the Akashic Records and bring down these designs. And one of the designs he brought down was some stuff called Tachyon Energy. And they worked on it for years after he died. But anyway, you've heard Dr. Delva Blair talk about the diodes and the different things that you can. Well, there's some new energy. There's some new energy called the purple plate or the purple disk energy. And this is Tachyon Energy. And this particular Tachyon Energy, now what makes this so important, why I got involved, is because of the spiritual aspect. When he went up on this realm, he tapped into a ninth dimension, and it was an angelic realm. And as a result, it opened up a dimension whereas not only are you getting this particular energy, this healing energy, when you deal with the Tachyon energy, and I'll show you what it is. It's a disc. Let me see, it's a disc. I think I'll get one. I got one on. It's a disc, and it's healing energy. But not only is it healing energy, let me show you what this thing is like. What this is like. This is the disc. This is Tachyon energy. It's a healing disc. And so I'm doing my infomercial like Delbert Blair does. But this is very important. Now what I want to do, I want to show you this. Got several things. And we're going to pour libation and all of that. But this is the purple disc. And we have several of these. Are $25 for the people that's interested. Well, I'm going to go into some history on this stuff. Magnificent. And this disc, you put it around your neck, and it starts eliminating things week by week. So it first gets rid of stress, then it gets rid of fatigue, then the third week you stop eating. You see what I'm saying? Then it starts healing. And so this thing is having things where it's healing cancer and all other type of things. You see, healing other things. So, I mean, it does a multiplicity of things as we go into it, but I'm going to give you some science behind it on the spiritual aspect. We even got testimonies. I got a guy from California called, and his father was dying, and he had one on, and the hospital called him, said, your father's dying. He was like, oh no. And he said he saw his father in a vision go up to a purple cloud and come back down and was completely healed. And all of a sudden the doctors don't know what happened. So the mystery behind this is coming from an angelic realm. An angelic realm. And that angelic realm is provided by four cardinal, well, there's 7 of these major angels, but there's 4 major ones you know, the 4 elements. And those 7 angels are, the 4 angels are Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, and Uriel. Now, Raphael is the god Tahuti. In Egypt, Michael is, of course, because the warrior god, so he would be a form of Horus. Uriel is a form of Sekhmet because it's a god of fire. And Gabriel is actually a form of Aset. And this is interesting here because you see, because you get these arguments, you see, Gabriel is the one who supposedly dictated the Quran to Muhammad. You see what I'm saying? That particular concept. But when you look at these particular entities outside of our human perception, we're talking about androgynous. So therefore it fits the form of Aset. It fits the form of Sekhmet. You see what I'm saying? And we come to find out that these so-called archangels have their origin coming out of Ethiopia. Coming out of Ethiopia. And I did a whole thing because we found an Ethiopian god, and I'm going to try to go through some of my overlays. We found an Ethiopian god, which we always wanted. We want several things to happen. We know that Ethiopia, or Cush, is the mother of Hemmitt, of Egypt. So naturally we would want to find some type of relationship to something that's coming from that particular area. And so we was lucky to find an Ethiopian deity, by the name of Akhenaten that came out of the Gnostic texts. And it's interesting here, they dug these Gnostic texts up in 1945. They found them in 1945. They translated these Gnostic texts in 1977. Along with these Gnostic texts came a whole lot of magical texts. So they suppressed those magical texts for the simple fact they would say, wait a minute, hold on. We're trying to say that this is an extension of Christianity and not pre-Christianity. So they try to hide certain things to understand, well, how could there be a pre-Christianity? I thought Christianity came on the scene with the advent of Jesus. That's right. So how could it be a pre-Christianity? So what happened was they had to separate the magical part because they know that Egypt was full of magical things and the ancient world was full of magical texts. So they didn't want to get into that particular controversy, so they later on released the magical text in the 1990s. And as a result, this is, this particular deity, this is a fragment of a magical Coptic text. But this particular deity was in that magical Coptic text. Now, I've had the material and the actual text since 1996 in a book called Ancient Christian Magic. Now, I had the text since 1996, so they later on released these texts. The spirit world will reveal to you things. I've had the book and was looking in the book for years. Even did some other lectures out of certain material in the books. And in March of this year, the pages open up to this particular beautiful figure of an Afro-type deity. And his name is Akhenaten, the Ethiopian. The Ethiopian angel. He is the one that sets over all angelic hosts. We can trace those archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, all the way back to Ethiopia, and this particular deity called Akhenaten, which is interesting here because we celebrate, you got the book, Ancient Christian Magic, good, great. So we celebrate Drusilla Dundee Houston from 1926 that wrote this remarkable book. And actually it's a standard bearer, and we've never seen anything to come close to it when it comes to the information on Kush. She even had the book, Wonderful Ethiopians in the Ancient Kushite Empire by Drusilla Dundee Houston. They have a nice website you can go on now and type in her name and they give you a whole dossier on her, that's the good part about the internet. We get to learn more about these particular people. So Drusilla Dundee Houston, but since her book, it's a standard bearer because we've never had that type of information or scholarship on that particular level again based on Kush. And now we get this wonderful Ethiopian god called Akhenaten. So this is not only the god, this is the god that sets over the whole Rastafarian thing. You see, he's also known as Metatron, which is very key. The Metatron is later on taken up into Spain and becomes the god of the Moors. So not only do we have a god of Ethiopia, we have a god of the Moors. Which we've always wanted to know, well, what would the Moors be dealing with? We know that the Moors was dealing with more than just Islam. And let me clear that up, because a lot of people can't understand how that is done. The Moors was the Egyptian, it was ancient Egyptian priesthood, or in this particular case, ancient Mediterranean, ancient African priesthood, because we got them all over the place. Now, people want to know, well, how did this connect with Islam? The Moors understood that they could take Islam as a tool of conquest. They studied what the Arabs had done. They said that we can use it as a tool of conquest, and you can go under Islam as a banner or a political banner. So it's the same as you can be different denominations, a different faith, or different occupations, but you could be in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. Well, these particular ancient Moors could go under Islam, the emerging system at that particular time, and use it as a tool of conquest to go into Europe. You see, but they brought into Europe multiple things other than just the Islam of the Arab sector. You see what I'm saying? They brought knowledge, the Western knowledge, period. You see, so this is the deity Akhenaten. Now I want to deal with, we're going to deal with this later, and I'm going to show you the face of that particular Moor. But I want to deal with this right now. Let me find another picture that I need to deal with. Y'all all right? Yeah. All right, so we got to pull libation, and let's see. We got to pull libations, and we got a lot we got to deal with. So I'm going to strum through some of this, because there's something that is very important I must find. To show you what's going on. As a result, what happens with me is this. Some people say, well, why don't you talk about things you talked about in the past? I say, well, I'm always in the level of research. Anytime I wake up, okay, I see what this is. I'm going to have to put this up here somewhere. But anytime I wake up and we still in this situation means you never feel satisfied with the knowledge you have. You have to keep going.
Right.
And you have to keep going. And as a result, I leave myself open to what shows up. So, what has shown up with the advent of, hold on 1 minute. With the advent of Akhenaten, with the advent of Akhenaten, this Ethiopian, these other entities showed up. First with Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, and Uriel showed up. And we see them in the Ethiopian book of Enoch. There's one you need to get, R.H. Charles' book, Ethiopian Book of Enoch. There's an excellent one, a new one they just put out by Samuel Weiser in 2003, where they stripped out a lot of he had a lot of technical notes, and it's just straight read. And as a result, these angels are in there. Michael, Uriel, Gabriel, and Raphael, the four. These are the ones you want to focus on now. You need to thank them today for the reason why it's not raining. Because it was supposed to rain today. It's supposed to have a thunderstorm. But you got four angels and four elements, and you invoke them, and as a result, they held up on the rain. I did a lecture last week. They held up in Atlanta. I did one on Mother's Day, and it was supposed to rain on Mother's Day in Baltimore, and they held up. They held up. So you want to thank these particular deities. And here's a picture of a chakra system. A chakra system that have Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, Sandalphon, and the different archangels. This is what we're going to be dealing with today, as well as other things. But I want to show you this. I want to deal with two things right quick on my infomercial. And then on my infomercial, I want to deal with two things. This is what I received. That you heard Barack Obama's stimulus package. Well, if they're giving out a stimulus package to the physical world, there has to be a stimulus package to the spiritual world. So don't think this stuff is crazy, because it's already worked. We launched this thing in Baltimore, and it's unbelievable. And I want to show you what this is about. This was a check that I received. It says the angels. Now, it's interesting because this Akhenaten shows up. Then these archangels show up. They show up. The Archangel Michael give us this purple disc. This purple disc. And it's been healing. You can put the purple disc on and it starts healing. And it gets rid of stamina, stress, and all this. And then they show up with a check. We launched this in Atlanta last week. We did it on Mother's Day in Baltimore. Unbelievable. Here's a check. Now there's some mystery behind this. It's not just a piece of paper. There's a mystery behind this. Here's a check. And it says Angels Halo Wave, First Angelic Bank. Now we've already got the spiritual backup because you saw that deity with that Afro figure from Ethiopia. You see what I'm saying? From Ethiopia. So this particular check says First Angelic Bank, Universe Lane. This is bobbyhemmitt. And then it has here your guardian angel. Now it has an 8 and an infinity. Now we got these checks. Now what do you have to lose? This check is only going to cost you $5. This is the most amazing thing about this. Now check this out. You put $2,500 on the check. So with me, I fill it out bobbyhemmitt. $2,500. So me, I say spiritual supplies. You can put it whatever you want. You can say income. You can say food or what have you. But the mystery here is, it has a thing that says, your guardian angel. Let me show you how this stuff happened. And the mystery here, the key to this is, the people that gave me the check. I got this check for white folks. You should be happy about that, because see, white folks ain't like you. You'll mess around and stuff for years and don't work. And be a religion. Or you make it your religion, don't work. White folks, if they mess around with some stuff and it don't work, they're going to throw it away and go to the next thing. You see what I'm saying? They're going to go to the next. They're going to go to the next thing. And this is, and remember now, this is the system that is set up with them that they have preserved through the Moors. Through the Moors. We're going to get into this today, and we're going to get into some other things with the Moors and some other things that you need to know about, as well as the warfare. Because as of last week, when they sent us those 3 black guys for so-called in 1996 conspiring them to blow up the Sears Tower, the Moors became official a terrorist organization. You see, official with the citizen. We're going to go into science of this to let you know, but nevertheless, you don't have anything to worry about. You see what I'm saying? If you use your head. Now, but anyway, the key here is this. In order for this check to be activated, you got to know your guardian angel. Know your guardian angel. So that was one of the keys. They gave me the check. But in so many words, I would have to know the guardian angel. Well, there's a list of these guardian angels that set over your birthday each month. And we actually have the list of the guardian angels. And the people who produced this stuff in 2000, who reveal these, because they're always translating stuff that they have these texts. When they produced these guardian angel texts in 2000, they specifically said that these guardian angels are called Akkadian. So anytime you hear the word Akkadian, that's black. They let you know, go see the movie Scorpion King. And the Akkadians show up, and they're what? The Michael Clark Duncan, the same guy that did the Green Mile, you know. You see, the big black man. So the Akkadians are black people. You see what I'm saying? So what they say here is, these particular entities, and we have a list of the entities, are Akkadian, and that means they're talking about our ancestors. Now, this is the deal. You get this check, it's only $5. You put $2,500 on the check. Now, one of the keys is, it has an 8 or an infinity in the corner. Which means once you receive your $2,500, because it's infinity, it means that it's going to be ongoing. So this is why the angelic host suggested that you don't go above $2,500, because they say it's supposed to be a thing that's supposed to be ongoing. You see what I'm saying? So you get the check, you put your name on the check and you fill it out. So we have the checks here today. It has a gold stamp on it of this angel Metatron, which is the god of the Moors, and one of the most highest deities that the Hebrews deal with in the Kabbalistic system, because the Moors brought the Kabbalah or the Kabbalistic system to Spain. You see, we'll go into that. Moses de Leon, which was this Moor, brought the Kabbalistic system to Spain. You see what I'm saying? And so the highest angel in the Kabbalistic system is Metatron. You see, they later on called Megatron in the movie Transformers. He was the great enemy, but that's the great Moor. Now, so we're dealing with research now that we can actually put our hands on the type of deities and stuff that our people was dealing with. So Moses de Leon brought this Zohar, which is the written Kabbalah, shows up in Spain, brought there by the Moors. And one of the key angelic hosts is Metatron. He's also known in Kemet as Medu Ra Atan. You see, Medu, word of the sun in the disk. Metatron. You see what I'm saying? Now, so there's a stamp with Metatron on there that makes it Moorish. So what we're doing here is we do a lot of research, and we go through the years until we start finding breakthroughs. Now they got all this stuff that's going on with the secret. People are coming with the secret. People are coming with all these types of information, but they don't want to tell you where they got this information from. It's the secret, but it's nothing but coming out of the Hermetic text, which is the sacred text of Tahuti. You see what I'm saying? And because Hermes is the god Tahuti, so you got the Hermetic text. So they won't tell you that they'll get this stuff from the Kabbalion, the three initiates. A book called the Kabbalion, the three initiates. So they just tell you about the secret. She's holding up the Kabbalion. So they're getting the information from the Kabbalion. But they won't tell you that. Then all of a sudden, so they went, this 2006, the secret. You see what I'm saying? And but they wouldn't tell. What the secret was that they just took the Kabbalion and applied one of the laws of attraction. Now these are Hermetic, Moorish laws. Because, see, anytime any type of information shows up, mysteriously shows up in Europe, and they don't have no explanation how it got there, you know how it got there. That's the code. Any type of information mysteriously shows up in Europe. So this particular information, this Kabbalion, is printed in the 1900s, the three initiates. And then later on, they come and take this stuff and start calling it the secret. There's another book called The Secret Source. Came out last year, The Secret Source. And it says the laws of attraction are but one of the 7 Hermetic laws. Here are the other 6. Well, the 7 Hermetic laws are the 7 Moorish laws. Because this material, whether we like it or not, it shows up in Europe. And when it shows up in Europe, and they do not trace it back, because anything that they want to do, if they can trace it back to Greece or Rome, they would do it. And some of this stuff shows up in Latin, and they still won't trace it back to Rome. You see, and that is the reason why they do that and stuff, because they understand that this particular stuff is Moorish. You see what I'm saying? So, Metatron is the god of the Moors. Is the god of the Moors. We won't get into this today because we are dealing now with enough information, you see what I'm saying, to document a lot of things. Now here's a picture of Metatron. This is one that was translated by McGregor Mathis. And this stuff mysteriously shows up in Europe. Now I don't know whether they did one thing. I don't know whether they restyled his face and his hair, or maybe the Moors put it that way to show that we have more than one phenotype. We always think of Africans or black people or indigenous people around the world with the West African phenotype. And that's sometimes why we get thrown off. Well, it don't look West African. Well, this sure could look East African. You see what I'm saying? So the point I'm trying to say, it could look East Indian. You see, it can look Ethiopian. You see, because we had more than one phenotype. You see. Now, and as you can see your horns on the head, we'll get into this type thing. So this, I even have it up here. It's the god of the Moors. This is the god of the Moors. Whatever it is, it draws enough energy. Now, but, let me go back to this. Oh, wow. Oh, man. Oh, Lord. When a man done put us in the museum, and Lord, they done come up in here. Baby's kids. The man done opened the museum up, and baby kids done come up in here and breaking up shit. Lord, Lord, I tell you. Just when you saw it all. Anyway, listen. Anyway. So the key here is you're going to get this check. And in 2000, they brought out what is called the Akkadian spirits. So how do you hear that word? So you got to know linguistics. You got to know different types of our people, different types of people. When you hear these words Akkadian, when you hear these words Carthaginians, when you hear these words Berbers, you got to know those are all different black people. And they'll give you, you see what I'm saying? They take all white people and say Europeans. You see what I'm saying? I'll put it all on the Westerns, whatever. Western theology, Western this. But they'll give you the Akkadians, the Berbers, the Carthaginians. You see what I'm saying? The Etruscans. They're all black people. So these Akkadian spirits came out in 2000. Here's a book called Angel Signs by Albert Haldane, H-A-L-D-A-N-E. Albert Haldane, H-A-L-D-A-N-E, and Samiya Saraya, S-I-M-H-A-S-E-R-A-Y-A, Saraya or Saraya. Now what you want to do is, this book is old enough now that you can go on this book. Now what I want you to do is this. I'm going to give you this. Y'all all right? I'm going to give you a list. If you get the check for $5, I'm going to give you a list with the check. And with that list, with that check, it's going to have your birthday, and it's going to have a host of archangels on that list. It's going to have a host of archangels on that list. We'll find it. And I'm going to give you that list. Now, you're going to take that list, you're going to take this thing, and you're going to fill this check out. And it's going to have a list under your birthday to say born between December 5th and whatever so-and-so, and it'll have the archangel. In this particular case, mine is Ha-Siya. Ha-Siya. Akkadian spirit, remember that, that's ancestors. And you're going to fill this check out, you're going to take it home, and you're going to put it on the altar, or you're going to put it in a frame. And what's going to happen here is, periodically $2,500 is going to come. So they said, well, don't go over $2,500, but the simple fact we have an 8 in the corner, which means it's going to come to you all the time. You understand where I'm coming from? You see, so you can go under, you can go 1,000, what have you, but 2,500 is the highest you can go. You see what I'm saying? As agreed to by the angelic host who brought this particular information. And there's going to be a list I'm going to give you. In that list, I'll show it if I can in a minute. And in that list is going to be your angelic angel, and that's going to be the thing, your guardian angel. Everybody has a guardian angel. It's just that they have all these particular texts, and they let this stuff out. Now, what you want to do, once you find out what your guardian angel is, you want to go to the internet, and you want to look up Angel Signs by Albert Haldane and Samiya Saraya. And it's on there. It's been on there about 8 years. The book is about 8 or 9 years old. So what's going to happen here is you'll be able to click on and go to the page, and you can just read exactly what your archangel is. Today I'm going to give you a paper with your birthday and the name of the archangel. But what you want to do, since this thing is blessing you, you want to go back and you want to read what that archangel is. Now, a few other things when we get into this lecture. So you want to get the check. You're going to get the check and the names for $5. You can't beat $2,500 periodically for $5. See what I'm saying? You give a bum on the street $5. You see what I'm saying? You know, you can't buy McDonald's or Wendy's with $5. It costs you $20. McDonald's is a $20 meal now for 2 people. See what I'm saying? Ridiculous. Now, what you want to do is, we have these purple plates. Now this purple plate is all healing plate. It's going to cost you $25 to come with the string. You put it on. I had a toothache every year for the last 8 years, every spring. When it's getting ready to turn from winter to spring or summer, I had this toothache. This year I took the disc and put it in my jaw, and And it just had a string. When I fell asleep, when I woke up, the disc had all kind of brown toxins on it. And it completely healed the two things. Now the mystery here is this. This is the mystery behind it. We took it to a seer, and one brother bought the disc, gave it to this brother who was a seer, or a psychic or whatever, and had to give whatever you want to call it. And the guy didn't know anything about it. He said, man, I feel all kind of energy around this disc. And he said, he tapped in, and he said, oh man, I'm looking. He said, I see a whole bunch of angels around the disc in another dimension. So Nikola Tesla used to do, and the brother C. Freemanel used to talk about this. He used to go up on these astral planes, and he'd pull down these designs. Now I saw a crackhead do this. Back in the 90s, as a crackhead was working on, we see him on the side of the street working on people BMWs and working on Mercedes. Be like, man, you just don't just work on a BMW and Mercedes. You got to know something. So we asked the brother one day, well, how do you know how to work on that? He said, what I do is I pray to the Lord at night. I go to bed, and when I get up in the morning, it's in my brain blueprint. In my brain blueprint. So we know that there are these Akashic Records. They're called the Akashic Records. Give me that coffee and that water right there. Thank you, sir. We know that they are Akashic Records. I lost my comb. I was trying to find my comb on the back. I guess so. I just say the African look or whatever. The good thing about consciousness, you can wear your hair when you want to, on any kind of way. You're like, nah, man, you comb no hair. I cut it low enough so that it didn't really make that much of a difference. But anyway, he would go up on these astral planes and pull down these designs. So he pulled down this Tachyon Energy, this purple plate energy, and what happened was after he died, one of his students picked this stuff up and worked on it for 40 years. And as a result, they had this Tachyon Energy. So look up Tachyon. They even mentioned it in Star Trek. Look up Tachyon Energy on the internet. But I also have a little thing, a little paragraph of the history of this, what this thing does if you buy one for 25 bucks. But we're telling the people to get these things now. Now this is the mystery behind this, why I am pushing this. I'm pushing this because the simple fact is this. My queen did this ritual to Raphael back in March. And he came through with some healing stuff. And then all of a sudden, a sister named Cabrina calls me from California. And I give her this reading, and she says, and so I said, she said, well, is it too late? I said, no, I don't go to bed till 4 o'clock. I can't go to bed till 4 o'clock in the morning. So she was like, well, I don't go to bed till late either ever since I got the purple plate. And I'm like, yeah, and she started telling about the purple plate, and she was like, well, you want me to send you and Linda one? They're like, yeah, people send us stuff all the time, we got all this stuff. And so she said, I'll send you one. So she sent it to us, and things just started kicking in and started working. And I already started at 4 o'clock, but Linda, my queen, 12 o'clock or 12:30 or 1, she's gone. And when I went in there one day and it's 4 in the morning and I'm getting ready to go to bed, she's been up all night. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. So the first thing this thing does, it gets rid of stamina and it gets rid of fatigue. Then it starts eliminating other things on your body. Now, there's a bigger plate that you can get. That's as big as an album cover you can put up under your bed. And that really works on large posters. But this alone does a lot. And you can take this and put it just a little small disc. And we're going to go into the history of this disc and stuff, the history of this disc later on. But if you're interested, but one of the keys here is this. What happens is at night these angelic hosts come down and they operate on you. So we have because what he did is he tapped into what is called a 9th dimension. And in that 9th dimension, the angelic realm, there is no sickness, there is no nothing. So if you transfer this to you and start wearing this disc and it has a direct symbiotic correlation to that particular realm, then what happens here is things on you start disappearing as far as ailments and stuff like that. Your dreams pick up. You see, your dreams pick up, and different things like that, you know, start happening. And also prosperity. So we got a few things. We got another thing which you can go. I got to get the website in a few minutes. But there's an 8 that you can put in your wallet. It's a copy of an 8. Now, we got them for $5 for the people that want them. You put this thing in your wallet, and your money returns to you. It's the most amazing thing. And I got a lecture that I did down in Atlanta on April the 4th. I mean, that Martin Luther King's birthday and his death day, yeah. April 4th. And I'm looking in my wallet to show the people the 8, and there's a $100 bill just appears in there, and I'm like, what the hell? I knew when there's a $100 bill in my pocket. So it just keeps returning. So we'll spend some money, and then all of a sudden somebody will call and say, well, I want to buy some tapes, I want to do, and it just keeps returning. So we got some 8s, we got the disc, and we got some checks. So we're going to deal with that. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to pour a little libation to get this thing going. I got my coffee. Y'all all right?
All right.
Okay.
All right.
And please look. Now, do not skate on these idols. This stuff works. Believe me, I don't put my name behind nothing. You see what I'm saying? That, you know what I'm saying? And believe me, this check, white folks gave me this. White folks got money. Now, I don't know if you heard some of my tapes, whereas you go in these rich white neighborhoods and you see them got wreaths on their door year round. Yeah. You put a wreath on your, and you understand why they live in a $1 million home? Because that wreath on that door, the spirits come through that wreath. You see what I'm saying? That's old Moorish science. You see? What you see white people with year-round wreaths on their door. Right. You see what I'm saying? That's because they tapped into our science, or they preserved our particular science. And spirits and everything come, and prosperity comes through those wreaths. There's a whole book called Magical Household by Scott Cunningham. Magical Household by Scott Cunningham. We're recovering all of our ancient information that they preserved in Europe. Now don't be upset with white folks for having our knowledge. This was a part of our plan. I talked about how we knew we was going to go into slavery. We knew we was going to lose our mind. We knew we was going to lose our memory. We knew we was going to go to sleep. We knew it 5,000 years before it happened. So we took this stuff and took it up into Europe and taught them for one reason. And you say, well, imagine how the European is with the information. Can you imagine if you'd have woke up out of slavery and he had no information? But the information itself would have been lost forever. So we put the information there so that they can preserve it. And they work better than us on things. Because they don't have a culture, they're not at a disadvantage. We're at a disadvantage for the simple fact, not only do we have cultures, we have multiple cultures. We have so much cultures, and we are the authors and the origin of all of the stuff on the planet, until we spend all our time when we come back into consciousness arguing over the different cultural things. I'm a Moor, I'm a Hebrew, I'm an Egyptian, I'm this and I'm that, and we're all of that. Whereas the European goal says, look, we don't have this type of culture. We borrow culture and make it ours. So as a result, we can use all of these cultures and fuse it together and deal with what works. When we in the black community, you know what I'm saying? We in the black community, we still arguing over identity. Arguing over history. And what we don't realize is going to always be an argument for us, because we are all of those things. Look, we found out recently, one of your brothers, one of the Moors, Brother Alim Bey, announced this, broke this back in 07. I think it was 07. He opened for me up in New York in 07. And said that they had traced the Shang dynasty back to Shango West Africa. Shango, the god Shango, the god of thunder and lightning, and the Shang dynasty, which is the first dynasty in China. So I'm trying to say, we finding out just about, you know, our history is so great until when we think about it, you can't really believe it. You be like, I don't believe that shit. We can't be everything, but then again, we are. So much, it's amazing. You see what I'm saying? Now I talked about this, which I also have for $5. We're gonna go for some of these things here too. They asked the Santeria community. Santeria is the Yoruba implanted in South America, Mexico, the islands, Latin America. They asked them to draw the Orishas back in 1992 and come up with what these Orishas would come up with. So when they got to what would they look in their mind's eye when they go into meditation, and what would they come to? So when they did this particular one, this is Shango, the god of lightning, and the word Barak also means lightning. And 18 years ago, they drew this picture of Shango with Barack Obama's face. Yeah. I mean, that's a close likeness. You can say it might be a little off, but when you're talking about 18 years ago, even has his hair, and got his ears. That's amazing. That's amazing. You see what I'm saying? And I had the book 18 years ago. I had the book and I got rid of the book. I had it in English. Got rid of it. Could only find it again I had to find it in Spanish. And I bought the book 1 month. He announced he was running the next month. And I didn't find out till a year later when I found out the word Barack means lightning. And I'm looking through the thing and I said, wait a minute, this thing has Barack Obama's face. That's synchronicity. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, the Shango, we can be traced all the way back. It can be traced all the way back to the Shang dynasty. To the Shang dynasty. Y'all all right? Yeah. Okay, let me close the libation, because I want. And the first order of the day is I want to get into some mysteries of the Moors. Let me show you another thing right quick. I did a TV show. Well, I'm going to deal with this too, because we're dealing with, as you can see, the Sister Bonetta that hosts this thing. She's walking around, she has on a blue dress, kind of turquoise dress. Now this is a picture of Yeminya. Yeminya is a sea goddess, or the goddess of the sea, a goddess of the waves and the water. She's your original mermaid deity. And her colors is blue and white. And we've been celebrating her since '07. She's the big mama, and she's the mother of the Orishas. She's called Emiya in Dogon. And Emiya is also called the third planet of the star Sirius. You got Sirius A, Sirius B, and the Dogon talk about a Sirius C that nobody has seen yet, but they say it's called the star of woman Emiya. And Emiya is Yeminya or Yemonja in Yoruba. Yeminya in Yoruba, Yeminya in Santeria. But she's a mermaid deity. And as you can see, when she was putting on her dress today, she decided to put on the turquoise or the blue. You see what I'm saying? And I say that is fitting because I was going to talk about Yeminya or Yemonya, and her colors is blue and white. Her colors is blue and white. Now, I think after I pour the libations or whenever, I'm going to get into this Moorish thing. There's another part, there's another form of her that that I'm going to deal with is a much more severe part of her. I'm going to show you this too. Y'all all right? Yeah. All right.
Hey, is that her on the Starbucks cup?
It could very well be. I think the Starbucks is a form of Ishtar, or a Astarte with the star. Yeah. But Astarte is also, this is how it goes. You got to trace it back. There's Astarte, there's Astarte, which is Chaldea or Canaan. And also Libyan or Carthage and Phoenician. You got to trace this back to the black. She's called Inanna in Samaria. She's called Ishtar in Babylon. She's called Venus in Etruscan. And Etruscan later on becomes Roman. Etruscan is the black form. She's called Aphrodite in Phoenician later on becomes Greek. She's called Hathor Heru in Egypt. She's called Erzuli in West Africa, and she's called Yeminya. You see what I'm saying? So the Starbucks is the same line. It's the god Venus, the goddess Venus of the planet Venus also. You know, you see. Now, I want to say this before I go to the libation. This Raphael character came through. The Raphael character came through to the brother named Panic up in New York, came through and was giving him a certain amount of information. And he told him, after we invoked all of this, he told him, he said, get your children's art because it's got magical powers to it. And they got a whole movie with Eddie Murphy getting ready to come out about the, the little girl drawing the picture. That Raphael came through and said, get the children's art, and basically if you receive that, you get those children to draw you those pictures. You can take those pictures and use those pictures for healing, prosperity, or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Knowledge, all kind of things. So I said this on the radio in Atlanta. A little 11-year-old boy came to the lecture last week, and he had these drawings of these angels. And we showcased the little boy, and he talked and stuff, and he said he was an avatar that came to this land to be in this land. It's only a few of him, and he came, his sector is Atlanta. He's like this angelic host that came back, 11-year-old boy. He said, and he was drawing spirits in the lecture. And he had all these angels he was drawing. So at the end, I said, but man, you need to get your mom and come by my house. I'm going straight to Kinko's with you behind. I'm going to Kinko. I'm gonna give some copies of them things. You ain't got to give it out. So at the end, he decided. He said, well, I tell you what, I can't get rid of these, but I can get rid of this one. He had a page before when I got another one over there somewhere. He said, I can get, but I'll show you 3 of them, but he said, I can get rid of this one. I'll sell you this one for $1. And I looked at it, I said, man, I'll give you $10 for it. And the guy said, oh yeah, you give him 10. That's like $100 to these 11-year-old. Yeah. He was just smiling. I said, I'll give you $10 for it. And stuff like that. And what he was trying to do, he was trying to pass off to me the one that he figured, I'm going to try to get rid of this one off on him for $1 or what have you and stuff. Because he didn't, in his mind, what came in, he couldn't understand. So he passed this off. And it was one paper, front and back, and it had two angels or 2 drawings of mystical creatures on one side and 2 on the other side. So I looked at that one, and it was a purple aura dragon. I was talking about the purple plate. Okay, I said, oh, that's cool. I said, that's cool. Then he gave me another one. See if I can find it. If I can find it, but I'm gonna make the point. It was another one, was another type of little dragon. And then he said, and I said, well, okay, well, why you didn't want to give me these other angelic ones and stuff? No, this one, you can have this one. I said, okay. Then when I looked, I said, oh, you're trying to pass this off on me. And I said, man, you don't know, you couldn't have gave this brother the ultimate prize. When I saw it, I said, I'm giving you $10. And so this is why when he tried to pass off on me, because he didn't realize, he was like, I'm getting rid of this thing here. I don't want this in my stack, so I'm going to give it off to you for $1.
You try to hustle me.
Try to hustle me, but it says, no, here it goes. This is the first one. It said, evil angel link number 1. I said, man, of all people, you going to give me this. I said, I'm going to give you a $10, man, because I know what that means. That's the most powerful. Even in the ancient world, they talk about wicked. It was like, this is gasoline, this is water. We'll put evil on gasoline. Don't mess with that now, let you know what you're doing. I was like, oh, man, coming from you, I said, you gave me the greatest gift ever. Then he gave me this one. Evil spirit 10th rank. And I said, wait a minute, hold on, I'm Sagittarius. In the side of the hour. I was born on November the 28th. 2 and 8 is 10. I said, you done gave me, and you done gave me the power. You done gave me the power. And he was thinking, Because he only had 1, 2 evil ones in the whole batch. He had a stack of these papers. I said, man, you don't know. You gave it to the right person. The Prince of Darkness himself. But I do know that what that is that's a real powerful entity there. And that's protection. Real powerful. And real powerful, that's protection. But what the point I'm trying to make here is, deal with these children's drawings. Because these children, you got the ones born, they say the ones born from the early 50s, the baby boomers, early 50s to 63, well, they go longer than that in this line. The early 50s to the 70s were called light bringers. Then in the 70s, the children were called indigo children. And then in the 90s, they were called crystal children from 90 to 2000. And then in the 2000s, they are called rainbow children. And this guy's on the cups, he's 11, he's a crystal child. And he's a crystal child. No, this boy is not 11, this boy is 7. So he's a rainbow child. And he's a rainbow child. There's a CD you could get. Her name is Doreen Virtue. Crystal Children. What it's called? It's called Indigo Children. Get that CD. But the key, what I'm trying to say here is, you need to get their drawings and collect their drawings. Or either you got grandchildren, just tell them, look, can you draw me some pictures? No matter how old they are, tell them to draw you some pictures. You see what I'm saying? And then collect those pictures, because those pictures got magical powers to them. You see what I'm saying? They got magical powers to them. And it's interesting here. And so that's very powerful. It's going on right now. And my brother had a crystal. He had a crystal child. I think it was born in '97. And he said, draw out me 5 numbers. Because he was going to try to play the Fantasy 5. So the little boy drew out 5 numbers on a piece of paper, but he messed around and something got distracted. It didn't go out and play the number, and turned on the TV and the doggone Fantasy 5 hit. Wow. That was like, I don't know how much, it's 500,000 or 100,000. Again, he sat there and cried. So these children, you get everybody got some, you black people, you have a bunch of babies. You got grandchildren, you got cousins, it don't matter. Find a child and have that child draw you a picture. You know, draw you a picture. And he also gave me this one, and I'm selling the purple plates. Very powerful. And those pictures are for prosperity. Those pictures are for healing. They're for warnings. They're for visions. They're for knowledge. They're for all types of things. Y'all all right? Okay. Now, let's pour libations, and we can get on with the lecture. All right. So I guess we're doing wrong, so I'm going to put her back up. You get to be, no, hold on, let me see. Let me see who could be the libation person. I'm going to pour libation. We're going to pour libation to the Moorish god Metatron. Well, I will share that. Got to have Big Mama up in there too. This is the Moorish god Metatron. We're going to say Metatron and Yemen, y'all. I'm going to pour libations to them. And also we got an Oshun picture here, a Legba picture, got Shango. We got a couple of things right here. We also have the famous King Tut that I'll show on one of the slides with the eyes. They only put this picture out about every 20 years, every 20 years. There's a King Tut picture with human eyes. Very powerful. You can also use that to heal, and I'll show it on the overlay in a few minutes. So we're going to go to the Moorish god Metatron. Now you Moors now have a god that you can deal with. And we're going to go back into that particular information. I'm going to read some information on that Metatron. But after we pour the libation, I want to go into this particular history on what has come down on the history on the war against the Moors. And it's all based on military history. It's military history. So he's a war machine. He's a warfare machine. And they got to choose enemies. And it's 2 reasons why they have to do this. There was prophecy that the Moors brought prophecy to Europe, and some of that prophecy has come true. and the other part of that is as far as the fighting more, the energy or whatever, and they're dealing with this with a military attack. We'll get into this in a few minutes. So let's post some Ron Rico rum. You also want to buy you some sherry. Sherry was produced, okay, the Arabs couldn't drink alcohol. So the Moors introduced alcohol into distillation into Europe. The ancient world used to drink wines and beer, you know, the Egyptian, the beer and wine. But distillation and alcohol and those spirits were produced into Europe by the Moors. They'll say by the Arabs. When they say by the Arabs was not an alcohol culture. They were talking about the Moors, so they're playing on words and stuff like that. But one of the first things that they introduced, along with the grains and the spirits, one of the things that they produced was sherry in Andalusia. So anybody, any of you Moors, get you some sherry wine, because that was one of the highest things that they used to use as far as when it came to their whole protocol and their diplomacy. They dealt with sherry, and that ritual was continued on Frasier Crane. Anybody know the show Frasier? Frasier they always break out the sherry. You see, they always break out the sherry. It's a very addictive show when you really get into it. And all, you know, it's a very addictive show. And all, you know. So get you some sherry if you are the Moor. You see what I'm saying? So we want to. So okay. So we also want to introduce this particular person here, and we want to dedicate this lecture to the passing of Ivan Van Sertima. As of yesterday, huh?
Yeah, he passed away.
When was it? Yeah, yes. When was it? Yesterday?
Yes, it was.
Now we want to dedicate this lecture to Ivan Van Sertima. He is the person that gave us, and it's fitting, the golden age